everyone. Welcome to this month's episode of What's the Tea here at Anew, Building Beyond Violence and Abuse. For those who don't know me, I'll go ahead and start off with introductions. My name is Celeste Angulo. I am a community educator here at Anew. I have been with Anew for about 3 years now. And I have the pleasure of having here with me Alexandra Glumac. She is a representative of South Suburban College. So I'll go ahead and have her introduce herself and tell us about her role at South Suburban College.
Great. Well, thank you, Celeste, and thank you to Anew for having me on as a guest on What's the Tea. I'm very excited to be here. So as Celeste mentioned, my name is Alexandra Glumac, and I work for South Suburban College in South Holland, Illinois. I've been with the college since 2006 in a capacity of a corporate trainer for 13 years, up until a little bit over a year ago, when we received a grant through the federal government, the Office on Violence Against Women, to raise awareness, eradicate dating and domestic violence in the community college setting. So I am the grant director, so I oversee all facets of the grant. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience so far in the last year, because we've really had the opportunity now with this grant to talk openly about dating and domestic violence with college students, talk about how we can intervene if we suspect that something might be happening with one of our friends, or if we see something kind of questionable in the hallways. We've got some great activities coming up for Domestic Violence Awareness Month in October that I'm going to be talking about a little bit later. But it's been a great opportunity to get to know the students here, to get them to be thinking about their relationships and recognizing what signs are there that might suggest that this isn't really a healthy relationship. And just being able to spread the messages about healthy relationships has been really terrific.
Yes, it's definitely something that is much needed.
Yeah.
We know a lot of us, we see the warning signs, we either don't really recognize what it is or just kind of ignore them, whatever the case might be.
Mm-hmm.
It happens all too often.
Definitely.
And yeah, so these programs that you're implementing are so much needed. So you're a corporate trainer, you're a grant director, you have all these different roles in the agency. And from what I've seen is that you are really doing a lot here. So
yeah, the grant has 5 different areas or elements, if you will. So the first one is probably one of the most important ones, and that is we have an advisory team called the Coordinated Community Response Team. And it's made up of individuals from the college itself, but also the community. I'm really excited to say that Anew is one of our main partners in the grant. We actually had to create a relationship with Anew. We had to create a partnership with Anew in order to be able to even get the grant, because the federal government knows that we can't do this all by ourselves, that we have to have those partners. So the Coordinated Community Response Team, or CCRT, to make it easier on us to say, is made up of about 17 different individuals from various agencies across the Southland here in the Chicago. We meet monthly and we talk about all the initiatives of the grant. The grant is basically run through a strategic plan. And it took us a year to write the strategic plan. That was the first year of the grant, was creating all the different things that we wanted to do with the grant dollars. And it includes things under the guise of prevention, victim services, student conduct, and law enforcement. So those are the other 4 areas of the grant that we create a lot of programming around and so on. So prevention is exactly what it sounds like, preventing violence before it begins. Giving information to students about what those warning signs are, again, of those unhealthy relationships or potentially violent relationships. So we do a lot of bystander intervention training through the prevention piece of things. We do a lot of campaigning. We have a big social media campaign that we have every month, sending out and blasting messages about whether it's statistics or current trends in domestic violence. So we share that information with students. We really kind of pummel them with a lot of information because, you know, getting something for the first time doesn't really sink in. But if you keep getting that message over and over again, as you know, then it starts to, you know, to really kind of affect them and get them thinking. So beyond the CCR team and the prevention, as I mentioned, we have victim services, and that's where Anew comes in, because we don't provide the services to anybody who reports that they are in a domestic violence situation. They can come and see me. I am a licensed clinical professional counselor, and I can do some crisis intervention with them and certainly talk to them until they're connected with a service provider. So I'm very capable of handling those types of situations, and have handled a number of them since I took on the role. But what we do is we connect them to the right service provider. So if it's domestic violence related, we definitely, our first choice is Anew. And actually a lot of our marketing materials has Anew's information on it. So we have like a palm card that we give students that has, you know, Anew's information on it. If it's sexual violence, in terms of a sexual assault of some kind, then we work with the YWCA. They're in Chicago Heights because they have that whole department and program for that. So we'll connect our students to that resource if needed. And then we work with a lot of other agencies as well that sit on our advisory team, you know, that do perpetrator or intimate partner violence workshops or counseling, the advocacy, you know, court advocacy, things like that, legal help. Many of our students here are parents and have young children, so we want to make sure that the kids get the proper care that they need, whether it's food, housing, all of that. We have the community partners that can help us connect there. And then, as I mentioned before, we have two other elements. One is law enforcement. So part of our grant is focusing on making sure that our law enforcement here at the college, because we do have a fully functioning police department here where the officers are sworn officers, and they're like any other municipality. They just work here for the college. And so we want to make sure that their policies and procedures are up to date with the right information, that they use the proper protocols to work with those that might complain about a domestic violence situation. So we, you know, do a lot of training with them as well. And finally, then student conduct. Again, if there's something that happens here, if there's a complaint made by a student about another student, perhaps, I don't know, maybe touching them inappropriately or saying something that's inappropriate, we have a behavioral intervention team and all of that here that might hear the case and talk about it, about what to do, what are the right next steps, and so on. And so we make sure here too, not just with the law enforcement, but with the school as a whole, ensuring that all of our policies and procedures are up to date, that they're in alignment with what the state laws are, and then other bodies like the Clery Act and so on. So this is a pretty wide encompassing grant that we have here. Lots to do, but again, we wouldn't be able to make a dent in this kind of stuff if it weren't for the grant. So we're very, very grateful that we have it. It ends actually in a year, the end of September of 2023. But we plan on asking for a continuation because that is something that they will let us do. But that doesn't happen until June of next year. So I can't say whether or not we'll get the continuation, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed because it's such important work. And we just scratched the surface. You know, that first year was all about creating the strategic plan. And now we're into the implementation of things. And we just have barely scratched the surface. So we definitely need that extra time to continue to make a difference.
Yeah, now that you've gotten on board, it's gonna, once you've learned what's going on and how to do things, that's when you get far.
Right, absolutely. And in the beginning, when we were doing the strategic plan, when we're coming up with ideas, we came up with some. I mean, there were some, good things that we thought of, but from starting from when we started implementing the program, which was in January till now I'm getting my groove, and I feel like I'm really starting to understand things more and understand the grant and all of that. And now the ideas are really flowing about things that we want to do continuing on, to continue to, send the messages out and so on. So like I said, I just feel like we're just getting started. So I'm going to send out positive vibes to the federal government that they're going to renew our contract again next year when we're ready. So.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely agree. This is really important work, what you are doing. I think that I'm glad to be that Anew is a part of it. I'm glad to be a part of this. And I think that it's really important, like you say, to make sure you have the resources because you need the right type of help for and everyone's situation is different. And you need to have those resources, those connections are very important. You did mention that within these 5 groups, they consist of either South Suburban College students and faculty or just community members, right? So I wanted to ask about the community members and what a person would do to either get involved or get more information.
Okay, sure. Anybody, and this advisory committee isn't just about South Suburban College staff or, again, as you mentioned, it's all about the community, and we welcome students for sure. I mean, I want student involvement and have been kind of doing a little begging when I'm going into some classrooms talking about bystander training, of letting them know we need you, I need your thoughts, I need your voice, I need your ideas about how we can make sure that this school is safe, at least from domestic and dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking. So if anybody is interested in being a part of the advisory committee, all they need to do is just either call me or send me an email. I can tell you right now, my email address is very simple. It's AGLUM, like Mary, AC, at ssc.edu. So that's aglumac at ssc.edu. And you can also call me directly. Our phone number here at the college is 708-596-2000, and my direct extension is 2393. So you can just let me know either way. If you want to know more about the program, I'm happy to share with you the information. If you have any specific questions, happy to answer those questions. But would love to have as much community involvement, and your time with the group is not all consuming. So you come on to the Friday, we meet Fridays at 11, the first Friday of the month, at 11 o'clock. And it's right now we're doing everything still virtually. We're not meeting face to face, unfortunately, but it's just easier too. I think one of the things that the pandemic brought us is that actually doing virtual meetings can be a good thing. I know we're all zoomed out, but still it's nice to have that option where you don't have to hop in the car and go somewhere. So those meetings, and then we ask everybody on the advisory committee to sit on a subcommittee. So either the prevention subcommittee, the victim services subcommittee, the law enforcement, or the student conduct subcommittees. And that's another meeting, which usually, at the max, it's another hour out of the month. And then if we have any events, we just ask for your support in those events, whether it's using your social media to spread the word about those events, or attending, something that we might be putting on. Like, for example, in April of this past year, we showed a movie. It was a documentary called, oh my God, I'm always forgetting the name. It was called Off the Record or On the Record, one of the two, either Off the Record or On the Record. It was a documentary about a woman who worked for music mogul Russell Simmons. No, Russell Simmons.
Yeah.
I'm getting him mixed up with the quarterback. the quarterback of
say
the whoever the singer was, or the music producer is. They had a relationship for a professional relationship for a number of years. She worked with him, and he crossed the line allegedly, and hit on her and so on. And it was her story about her journey with working with him and the complaints and his reputation and all of that. And so we showed that documentary here at the college. We invited students to join us and had a discussion afterwards about the focus was really about African-American women and the reluctance to report a African-American male for sexual assault. And it was a very dynamic conversation. And again, all about raising awareness. And this is where we would love to have as many people as possible to be part of those discussions. Yes, this grant focuses on our students here, but we do a service if we can also reach the general public, because domestic violence, as we know, it crosses, it doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, what you do for a living. It doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, doesn't matter if you're transgender, doesn't matter if you're male or female. It hits all aspects of that. And we want the community to feel that they can get information from us as well.
Definitely. Yeah. And with Domestic Violence Awareness Month coming up next month, we'll talk about some of the events we have coming up.
Yeah, it's a busy month, and this is where I'm excited, because we have some actual hands-on things that we're doing where we're inviting you to attend, and then we have some things that you can do on your own, just in your own world, if you will, to support those who are surviving situations like that. So we have Purple Thursdays, which I know is kind of a common thing, but on Thursdays you wear purple, and it's just a show of support for those individuals who are suffering, and again, raising awareness. But our little way that we're going to do it here is I'm going to walk the halls during high student time. And if you're wearing purple, I've got a little sticker for you to wear. And then, who doesn't love candy? So you're going to get, a piece of candy. Or you can come to my office and also say, I'm wearing purple today. And I'll give you a little nosh there of some chocolate. And so that's going to be throughout all Thursdays in the month of October. And then we also have another thing that you can do on your own. And again, I always forget the name of it's about light, and it's about putting a purple light in your home or in your office. I think it's called Light Up the World or Light Up the Night or something like that. And we just put something purple. Again, it could be right now you can buy purple Christmas lights or purple Halloween lights. Yeah. Put them outside, or put a purple light in your, above your porch, or put a purple light in your window. And all it is again, to show that you are, supporting women and men who are in a domestic violence situation. Right. Then we've got some bystander training that we're going to be offering this October as well. This is for our students, where we encourage them to join the training so that they can learn how to assist if they see a possible domestic violence situation or a sexual assault situation unfolding. We've got some specific strategies that we teach them on what to do in those situations. So those are open to our students, and I communicate with the faculty and our administrators and our coaches as well. I'm doing some bystander training with our athletic department. So we have basketball teams, both men and women. So I'm doing that coming up next week, actually. So making sure that students know what to do in those situations, because if you ask them before the training, they say one thing, but you just know that it may not be that way. But after the training, now you've got some options, and you really can can come up with a plan of what you would do in a situation like that. And I actually, in the bystander training as well, will give certain scenarios that have happened, that I know have happened. And so I would say, what do you do in this situation? So we've got the bystander training, and then two other really cool things that we're doing. Celeste, I know you know about this one. This is the Healthy Relationships Workshop that we're doing on October 12th. It's open to the public, but it's for our students as well. And Celeste and her colleagues are going to talk about what are the kind of warning signs of an unhealthy relationship. What are we looking for in healthy relationships? How do we, if you find yourself in that situation where it's crossing that line into dangerous and abusive, what do you do? So a real kind of factual and real conversation about violence in relationships. So that's going to happen again on October 12th as part of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And then finally, the creme de la creme of Domestic Violence Awareness Month for us is going to be on October 21st, which is a Friday. And we are having our first ever domestic dating violence, sexual assault, and stalking survivor resource panel discussion and expo. And it's going to be at our Performing Arts Center, which is a very large auditorium. And we're going to start off with a continental breakfast. And this is a free event as well. It's open to the public, our students, anybody who wants to attend. And we're going to have a wonderful panel discussion on the current trends of domestic violence, as well as services and organizations and resources available to help individuals. Our panel is going to be made up of someone from Anew, from the Y. I'm looking to get somebody from either the State Attorney's Office or the Illinois Attorney General's Office. I believe one of our vice presidents, who's our Title IX coordinator, will be there as well and be on the panel, and hopefully hoping to get someone from Ascend Justice also, which is a great advocacy organization, to sit on the panel as well. And then we'll have a number of service providers there so that you can talk to any one of them about the services that they offer, anything that you need. We're going to go the full gamut of legal services, counseling services, food availability, housing, all of that sort of thing we want available, so that if anybody is in need, or if you want to show up on behalf of somebody who's in need, who that person is not, either ashamed or doesn't feel comfortable attending, you can attend on their behalf and get that information and pass it along. So it's just a 3-hour morning event, again on October 21st, but I'm really, really excited because this is not something that's ever done. And I want to have all the resources in one space, so that if somebody is struggling, they know that they're not alone. There is help. There are people that are available, and that they don't have to do this all by themselves, and they don't have to suffer alone. So that's what we're going to be doing for October's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Lots going on.
Lots to do, and I've got some to add.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a lot of events going on. I do have a few connections at South Suburban College with, I want to say it's the Latino Center.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they've got an event coming up this week, actually, September 15th. There's like a drive-through event for Hispanic Heritage Month, and I've partnered with them to where they're also going to distribute our brochures during their drive-through event. And so make sure that if anybody is around South Suburban College, Thursday, September 15th from 5:30 to 6:30, there's going to be a drive-through event where they're going to be handing out candy, information about South Suburban College, as well as other resources.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few events that we have here at Anew on October 7th. We've talked about this quite a few times. We have the Keeping Dreams Alive fundraiser. So this annual fundraiser is going to return to in-person now on October 7th as a Keeping Dreams Alive sneaker ball. So for this event, you dress in cocktail attire and you pair it with your favorite sneakers. There's going to be live music. There's going to be special guests, food, tons of fun. So to learn more and buy tickets, I will definitely include the link in the comments. All the information that we're giving out during this episode, I will definitely include it in the comments. And then, yeah, go
actually,
ahead.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that about September 15th tomorrow, because I want to mention also that we do have here at the college an Hispanic population. So we make sure that the bystander training is in Spanish and that we have posters in Spanish and our flyers and things like that as well, because we want to be as inclusive as possible, and we don't want to alienate anybody because of a language situation. So, so I'm glad you mentioned that, because I just want to say that we do offer our services in Spanish as well.
Thank you.
And you've got
so
more
then,
coming up,
speaking of Spanish, we're also providing some domestic violence 101s virtually in October. So that'll be on October 14th. Look out for a flyer. The time has not exactly been decided yet, but it will be virtually on October 14th. And we will offer DV Dynamics in English, as well as another one in Spanish on that very same day, open to the general public for free. So this is where we talk about the overview and the dynamics of domestic violence and how we can help. So it's about a 1-hour training. We will post more information about that.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. And if you want to forward that to me, I will forward that to especially our behavioral health classes.
Okay.
Even our criminal justice classes, that's good information to share with those students that might want to learn more about, these types of things in their studies.
Okay, good. So yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about was I wanted to talk just a little bit about the prevalence of domestic violence on college campuses. I know that's something that you and I have discussed a little bit in the past. Mm-hmm. I do have a stat here that I found online. So dating violence, also known as intimate partner violence, is a common and pervasive problem on college campuses. So approximately 1 in 3 women, 1 in 10 men, and 1 in 2 transgender individuals are victims of dating violence. So unfortunately, this is something that is very prevalent amongst college campuses. All these resources are much needed.
Yes, absolutely. Those numbers that you mentioned are the numbers that I know of as well. And it's interesting. I just did a bystander intervention training for one of our psychology classes back on Friday. And one of the things that I do is to get them kind of involved in the conversation is to say, you tell me what the percentage is of women, college age women who have experienced their own domestic violence situation. And a lot of them will lowball it and say, maybe, just 10% or maybe 15%. And they're very surprised to hear that it's well over 30, it's over 33%. And then when you ask about the men, how many men have been in an abusive relationship, they go even lower. They don't realize that men can be in an abusive relationship as well. And ironically, I was able to find in my training, I was able to include some kind of snippets of a relationship with a man and a woman, where the woman was the one that was leaning toward being violent and abusive, definitely abusive. Whether she would get to the point of violence, we'd have to go further on, but so I wanted to make sure that they recognize that does happen. And you had also mentioned, the LGBTQ population. I mean, it's very rampant. Dating and domestic violence is very rampant in that population as well. I mean, we're talking again in, upwards in the 30, 40, even 50% of, experiencing something like that. And they're also very surprised to hear that in the incidents of sexual violence or sexual assault, that many of them it's because they know their perpetrator. It isn't just walking alone at night and getting accosted in an alley. It's more so, who did it to you. It was somebody that you loved and trusted and hung out with, and not just some stranger. It's not all about stranger danger. It's, about people that as well. So, and a lot of our students don't realize too, that I asked them, what season do they think the prevalence of domestic violence is highest? Is it winter, spring, summer, or fall? And a lot of them say summer, just because you think, being outdoors and all of that. And it's actually right now, the months with the highest numbers of domestic violence on the college campuses are September, October, November. Wow. So we're right in the middle of it. And so I just, and I don't know what the trend is and why it's that way. I don't know if it's the beginning of a new school year. Is it I don't know. But I do know that this is when you want to be, extra careful. So, and then also if I poll my students, they don't know what's available. And quite honestly, they don't realize that certain behaviors can be considered abusive. A lot of them think, well, that's just that's just the way men are, or that's just the way so-and-so is. And, so it's okay. And it's not, those behaviors, like, for example, isolating somebody, you can't go with your family, you can't see with your friends, it might come off as, oh, he really loves me and he wants to spend all his time with me, when, those of us that know domestic violence know that is a major red flag and could be, something that gets worse down the line. So we try to correct some of those myths and assumptions about domestic violence through our efforts as well. Again, that's a whole part of the raising awareness. Yes. So, yeah.
That is really interesting. Very well spoken, Alexandra. But the fact that DV is more prevalent in the fall, I find that really interesting. It's not the stat that I heard about until I heard it from you a few days back. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've been thinking about, I wonder why that is. And of course, there's no telling why exactly it is, but right. I like where you were heading, where it might be because of stress, mm-hmm. right? Because according to research, domestic violence is more prevalent amongst groups where there is more stress, for example, minorities. Mm-hmm. And that might be one of the causes, probably not the whole thing or the whole
right. Yeah. Usually, as there's going to be multiple causes. Mm-hmm. And it's just like the number of domestic violence cases that it just went nuts during the pandemic, where people are more now closer than ever. They're not at work. They're, they may not have the space at home to be able to give themselves a little room. And I know that the police departments, there was an article in the local paper about the Tinley Park Police Department and how their calls for domestic violence, I don't know if they had doubled, tripled, I don't remember what the number was, but I know that they were seeing a high volume of those types of calls. And you can relate it to, again, to the pandemic and the stress of that, again, the being home, the being isolated in your home, all of those types of things. So, and I think too, maybe with, we can't rule out to the beginning of the semester, parties on college campuses, fraternities and sororities are starting to, do all of their, whatever they do, the rush, I think it was called, and all of that. And there's a lot of drinking, associated with that. A lot of drinking, and we also, put those two together, and you also got, a situation that doesn't bode very well. So,
yeah, there's definitely definitely coincide a lot of the time where there is domestic violence. There's also drinking involved. Not to say that it's the cause of it, but so much of the time they go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
And so that could be.
So and the other thing that, this, I think this, what I'm going to say next was what really freaked the students out in the classroom on Friday when I was with them. I asked them, how did I ask them? So if you have a gun in the home, there's a gun, whether it's a legal gun or an illegal gun, what percentage, I'm so sorry that I'm not thinking about the right way to say this, but I wanted to know how frequent now, or what's the percentage now of the possibility that a homicide takes place in a domestic violence situation? If there's a gun in the home, whether whether it's legal or not. And that some of them were going, oh, maybe 5% more, or there's a, 25% more chance, or a 50% more chance. And I was like, you guys aren't even remotely close. It's 500% more likely to have a homicide when there's a gun on the premises.
Oh, wow.
Clearly, if you compare a situation where the one situation doesn't have a gun and the one that does, it's going to increase the likelihood that there's a major violent outcome when there's a gun on the premises. And we know that gun control is a big issue here in our country. And we know that there's a lot of people out there that have guns that shouldn't have them. And there's a lot of people, I'll be quite honest with you, that have them legally that shouldn't have them anyway. But put those two together and you've got a very volatile situation, a really scary one. So
500%.
500%.
That's amazing.
Yep. Yeah. So just another little tidbit of information out there. It's scary stuff. It could really turn into, and as we've seen, the prevalence of violence in and of itself is just, to me, it's escalating. It's out of control. And now we're seeing it spill into just violence in general, spilling into our high schools. I mean, there's always been, when I was in high school, there was always maybe a fight or two, but I just was reading yesterday, a local high school that my dad taught at for 30 plus years. He's been retired for a number of years now. They were having a football game on Friday night, and there was a threat made against the school that night. Excuse me. They had to stop the game, evacuate the stadium, and the game was continued the next day with only parents allowed in the stands. Okay. So because there's these threats of violence, it's just, and that's not the first one I've heard about. There's been some other local high schools that have had some issues, and it's just very, very scary that now it's become the norm where you can't even safely go to your high school football game.
Yeah. That is something that I think about whenever I take my family anywhere. If it's going to be crowded, we say, I don't think we should go there. We shouldn't take that risk.
Because all it takes is one person who's either had too much to drink, or somebody bumps into them the wrong way, or says something, or your team is losing, God forbid. And all it takes is just one little spark to create that inferno. And that these kids that are bringing this in here, whoever is bringing this violence in, probably there's violence in the home, and it probably was domestic violence. So, so it's all interrelated. And again, all the more reason why we need to spread the word about how to, recognize if you're in a situation that could become violent. How do you protect yourself? How do you intervene if somebody, your best friend tells you, oh, he hit me last night, but I caused it. I questioned him, or he was tired and I wouldn't let him sleep, or, you come up with some.
And he promises not going to happen again.
Right. Exactly. And he promises it's not going to happen again. And then until the time after that, and so on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So scary stuff out there. But the more it's really, truly, very true what they say about education. The more the more you can protect yourself. And that's why we've got the grant, and that's why you do what you do. And with, with all the community involvement that you have, and we're on a mission to share information, because it could save a life. It really could.
I have to give Carrie a shout out here because that is Carrie's phrase, the more you know. Have you heard her say that before? So she is going to hit a like on this video because of that phrase there.
And with the whole thing like this too.
The more you know.
I can even hear in my head the little jingle that goes along with the more you know.
Yes. So actually my next question, I feel like you might have already answered. If you have anything to add to it, I was going to ask, what is South Suburban College doing to stop domestic violence? And you've mentioned quite a number of things. I know you also have our purple tear off posters in your bathrooms. You have our brochures for whoever needs it to grab.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of messaging throughout the campus. So we have, there's bulletin boards all over the place. And so we have posters. We have, like I said, your the Y and your tear offs. Those, everybody knows those little tear offs with the number on there. And again, social media. So we do a lot on social media. Again, a lot of messaging that you're not alone, that help is available, and then sharing your information and our other community partners' information. And again, getting our, one of the other things that it's important for us to do is to get our law enforcement involved with our students much more. It's not, not waiting for something bad to happen to get one of our police officers involved, but getting them to create relationships with the students so that if something were to happen, they would feel safe going to our police officers. They wouldn't feel like they wouldn't get the help that they need, or, we want them to feel comfortable. So part of our initiatives also include the police department getting to know the students. They're going to take part in our October 21st expo and panel. They're going to be there with a table. They're going to be interacting with students, and that's really important as well. And anything that we can do to support Anew, to support our other community partners, we will certainly do that. We're happy to share any information that you have with our student body. And it's not even just our students too. We reach out when I'm doing any of this, I'm inviting our faculty, I'm inviting our staff, and believe it or not, I've had just as many staff members come to me about personal situations as I have students. So it's not just for, not just happening with our students, it's happening with some of our staff as well. And I don't want them to be alone. I want them to know that they have somebody to come talk to and that there are resources available so that they're not, doing this on their own.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I'm glad that you have the resources available for everyone that walks into that campus. So that's amazing. I definitely saw at the last resource fair that I attended there at the college, I definitely saw that police officer and student connection. There was like a Connect 4 giant game that everyone was playing with the police officers. So that was really interesting to watch. I actually got up and played it myself.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So again, awareness, and being visible. That's the main thing is being visible. And with the bystander intervention training, that's when I get to know the students and learn more from them. And also just make those connections, because I want them to know that if, again, they know somebody or somebody says something to them, or they themselves are experiencing something, that they have a go-to person. Even if you don't remember it, the name Anew, that you can come to me and I'll sit with you while you make that phone call. And I've done that with some students as well, made the phone call here in my office to connect with Anew and get set up with a counselor and so on.
Great. Yeah. So some other things that you can do, I know you've already mentioned wearing purple. So wearing purple is definitely can create awareness during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So just to add to that, a few things that you can do on your own is also you can donate to your local domestic violence agency, or you can look for volunteer opportunities. So just a few other things to add there. Any last words, Alexandra, before we finish up here?
I would say to those of you that are in a domestic violence situation, again, I want to reiterate that you are not alone. There's so many of us out there that understand and want to provide you with that safe haven. We want to provide you with what you need to live a happy, healthy life. So don't think that you are a burden. Don't think that you're crazy. You are not, and you are certainly helpable. You deserve it, and we want you to take advantage of those resources. And if you aren't in a situation like that, but you know somebody that is, don't give up on them. Just continue to be a soft place to land for them. And when they're ready, they will make that phone call or talk to that person or whatever. And anybody, whether you've been in the situation or not, or whether you are currently in this situation, we need you to advocate for others and be the voice that steps up for those that are staying silent for now. And this includes especially, I want to encourage anybody male who is watching this. We need the male voice as well. We need the males to stand up and say domestic violence is not okay against a woman, against a man, against transgender, the LGBTQ community. It's not okay, and that we're willing to stand for that as well. So the more voices that we can raise up, the better we are. And no matter how small, like you said, Celeste, whether it's a small donation, whether it's volunteering some of your time, whether it's wearing purple on a Thursday, every little bit creates more momentum, and we need that strength in those numbers.
I agree. Yes. And I like that you said that they will make that phone call when they're ready. Right? Because a lot of times it can be frustrating, like you said, stay with them and be patient. It can be frustrating that the survivor or the victim is not yet ready, and that's
right.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Alexandra. Thank you for all the information. Thank you for all that you're doing. I am happy to partner with you for anything else. Of course, we're going to have more events coming up.
Absolutely.
And for those who are watching, I know this is a pre-recorded episode, but you can for sure still ask any questions in the comments. We will be monitoring the comments. If there's any questions for Alexandra, we're going to let her know. Any questions for us, we'll get those answered for you. Anything you need explained or reiterized, for sure, we're going to get those answered. So any questions you may have, go ahead and write them in the comments, and we will get back to you. Other than that, thank you all for watching. Stay tuned. We'll have a new episode next month.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye.